Hare Govind Prabhu, is it possible for you to do the Manglacharan or should I do it?
I can do it, Mataji.
Since my video is not on, I don't like to.
Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Shalakayam Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Unapadakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahita Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावने वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Hare Govind Prabhu, for doing the wonderful Manglacharan. So, thank you everybody for joining in. This is our class where we are all going to share the information and the knowledge we have. And we'll try to even ask questions to see if we can get some of our doubts sorted out. So we are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam. We are on Canto 1, Chapter 13, and the text for today is text 55. Prashantatma Prabhuji, are you able to read the text today? Starting with Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Hare Krishna, sorry, I'm in a bit of noise. Maybe I can get some help.
Okay. Anybody would like to volunteer? Okay, maybe
I can do.
Okay, Prabhuji. Let's start with Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamutiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhakti Naishtuki. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
You are able to hear me, Mataji?
Yes, I'm able to hear you. We are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 13, text 55.
Okay. Just a minute, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Vijnanatmani samyukya kshetrajne pravilapyatam brahmani atmanam adhare gatam bharam ivam bhare. Word to word. Vijnana, purified identity. Atmani in intelligence.
Atmani in intelligence.
Samyojna, perfectly.
Samyojna, perfectly fixing.
Samyojya,
Samyojya,
Kshetragne,
Kshetragne,
in the matter of living being.
in the matter of living being.
Pravilapya,
Pravilapya,
merging
merging.
tam, him.
Tam, him.
Brahmani in the supreme.
Brahmani in the supreme.
Atmanam,
Atmanam,
pure living being.
pure living being.
Adhare in the
Adhare.
reservoir.
Adhare in the reservoir.
Mataji, please excuse me, my battery is completely low. I'll switch to another system, Mataji.
Okay, I'll
Continue,
continue.
Mataji.
Gata ambaram,
Okay, Mataji.
sky within the block.
Gata ambara, sky within the block.
Eva, like.
Eva, like.
Ambare in the supreme sky.
Ambare in the supreme sky.
Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Dhritarashtra will have to amalgamate his pure identity with intelligence and then merge into Supreme Being with knowledge of his qualitative oneness as a living entity with the Supreme Brahman. Being freed from the blocked sky, he will have to rise to the spiritual sky. Hare Krishna. We now go on to the purport. We'll read a line at a time and then we can deliberate on it. So purport. The living being, by his desiring to lord it over the material world and declining to cooperate with the Supreme Lord, contacts the sum total of material world, namely the Mahat Tattva, and from the Mahat Tattva, his false identity with the material world, intelligence, mind, and senses is developed. Hare Krishna. Anybody would like to comment on this? Here, there is a description of Mahat Tattva. Okay. Here there is.
Hare
Yes, Ramila Mataji.
Yes. So I'll just try to have a little go. Because we wanted our independence and we didn't want to comply with the Lord. He gave us our independence. But the Mahatattva, we all came from the Mahatattva because first of all, there is Pradhan at the beginning. And Pradhan is a dormant sort of stage of material existence. And then the Lord glances over Pradhan and then he injects it with time, the living beings and their destinies. So from Pradhan comes the Mahatattva, which is the total of material creation, really, and in which the three modes of nature act. And from the material, and that's how the material creation comes about. Well, that is not taken on board, the different Purushas like Karuna Dakshai and Garbha Dakshai and Shira Dakshai. So, but this is just focusing a little on the Mahatattva itself.
Hare Krishna. Any additions? So Mataji, the Mahat Tattva is about the three Purushas?
Well, the three Purushas, there was first of all the Lord taking the form of Karuna Dakshai Vishnu, where that was his first form, and he lies on the causal ocean, and from when he lies there with his breathing, many universes come about. And then his second Purusha form is Garbhodakshai Vishnu, where he enters into each one of these universes. And then Shirodakshai Vishnu is where he enters as the Paramatma into all the living beings.
And this happens in the Mahat Tattva, the Karuna Daksha Vishnu.
This happens. This happens before the Mahatattva.
Oh.
He takes these forms, and then he glances at Pradhan, and Pradhan is where from Pradhan the Mahatattva comes about, because ex Pradhan with the living entities and time and and our destinies.
Yes, but I just wanted a clarification. So I understand Pradhan and I understand the Lord glancing over and then creating the Mahatattva, but I don't understand where the three Purushas are. Are they when the Lord...
Sorry, I think he first the first Purusha is in the causal ocean, which is a part of the spiritual sky. That's where the Mahatattva is. Okay. That's as far as I remember.
Okay. So the Mahatattva is in the spiritual sky, where
yes,
where
yes,
the causal ocean is, and where the Karuna Daksha Vishnu resides, and then the Shirodaksha Vishnu, and then so that is the lineage. That is
second is Garbhodakshai Vishnu,
and then
and then Garbha, and then Shirodakshai. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any additions to the discussion we are having? Fine. Let's continue with the second sentence. This covers his pure spiritual identity. So what covers the pure spiritual identity? The Mahatattva, identity, material world, intelligence, mind, and the senses is developed. And this covers his pure spiritual identity. By the yogic process, when his pure identity is realized in self-realization, one has to revert to the original position by amalgamating the 5 gross elements and the subtle elements, mind and intelligence, into the Mahatattva again. Okay. Anybody would like to have a go with this sentence? I could try. So we know that we are made of the 5 gross elements, that is earth, fire, ether. Kindly help me. Earth, fire, ether, water, and air. So those 5 tattvas are the gross elements. And then when we amalgamate into our original positions, these 5 elements, along with the mind, intelligence, maybe even ego, the subtle elements are mind and intelligence here, that needs to go back into its original position. Any more on this? Even if we have questions, it's okay. And if we can't answer, we'll have Rukma Prabhu tomorrow who will answer our questions. But we just need to discuss and find out where our understanding is.
Yes, I think what you said is right. It's right, Mataji. When the when we become a pure soul and we leave the body and we are heading back on our journey, a very, very pure soul has to merge back into the Mahatattva.
Okay. Thus, getting freed from the clutches of Mahatattva, he has to merge in the existence of the super soul. So then we have now amalgamated, we have left the Mahatattva, we have left the 5 gross elements and mind and intelligence. And now we have to merge in the existence of the super soul. In other words, he has to realize that qualitatively he is not different from the super soul, and thus he transcends the material sky by his pure identical intelligence, and thus becomes engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So now the Jivatma has Hare Krishna. Yes. Are you going, Prabhu?
Yeah, he realizes his true identity, and then he understands his transcendental position and then tries to serve Supreme.
Okay. Any more additions to this? This is the highest perfection development of spiritual identity, which was attained by Dhritarashtra by the grace of Vidura and the Lord. So, when I was reading this, I was saying Dhritarashtra, he had all his life he had done nothing to probably he had done a lot of bad things, and in spite of that he could reach to this stage, and that was because he had association of Vidura. So association of a pure devotee is very important to get us into the realm, and of course the grace of the Lord is very important.
I think it also gives consolation, to think that, Dhritarashtra, who did so many evil things, found his way back to the Lord. So at least, there's hope for us, put it that way.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
That's right. Yeah, there is hope.
Actually, Mataji, Lord Krishna gave the position of mother to Putana, who came to kill him. So he only took since she came to breastfeed him, although with the poisoned breast, but still Krishna did not consider that she had come to kill, but she had that motherly feeling towards Krishna. So he gave the position of mother in the spiritual world.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, Krishna sees our intention, he sees our attitude, and he negates all the wrongdoings that you have done if you go to him with a pure heart and the attitude. So I heard a story.
Actually,
yeah. Actually.
Yes, Mataji, go ahead.
Prabhuji, my story is long, so you tell us before you forget your point.
No, I actually, there is a story in Ramayana that Lord Ram is willing to give Vibhishana the kingdom of Lanka, and then Hanuman asked that what I mean. Somebody will be asking like, what will he get? What will he get? Then Lord Rama says that if Ravan comes and asks what he will give, and then he is so merciful that even after doing all those bad things, if Ravana still had considered surrendering to him, so he would have I mean would have forgiven him, and then he would have given him his own kingdom in Ayodhya. So that is the level of mercy Lord Ram had towards all the jivas. So he doesn't consider about the wrongdoings, and then his mercy is shown. That's what I wanted to say, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Wow, wow, that's amazing. It puts everything in perspective when we hear stories like this, how merciful the Lord is. So I'm going to give a very mundane story, but I enjoyed this story. It was said by Subha Vilash Prabhuji, and I like him because he gives very appropriate examples, and at least since I'm in the baby steps, I understand it better that way. So I don't know whether you know that in India, especially I come from Bombay, outside our house there is the American embassy. And to get visas, people have to queue. And the queue is really long, and people queue from morning, and they get, in spite of the appointments that they are given, they really queue, whether it's hot or cold and in the rain. And there was this lady with a small kid, and the kid was crying and crying and crying and crying. So the person who, the chowkidar over there, called the lady in the front and said, "You go next, because this kid of yours is really agitated." So in spite of being at the back, she came in the front by the mercy of this guard. And she had all her documents. I think there were 3 or 4 documents that were missing, but in spite of them missing, she got her visa. So now the American visas are such that you do not know whether you'll get them or not. Okay, you might have all the papers that are required and still not get it. So the person standing in next in the queue was a suited, booted person, and he had all his documents, but his visa was rejected, and they don't give you any reason. Okay, so similarly, all of us are trying to get a visa into the spiritual world. And for example, to get visas into entering into the spiritual world, there are 100 points. So when you go up there, the chowkidar will ask you, "Okay, tell me, what have you done?" So you say, "Oh, I did 16 rounds all my life." So then he's saying, "Okay, 2 points given." What next? "Okay, I did book distribution." Okay, 2 points given. Then 4 regulatory principles. Okay, another 2 points given. Saying that I served the Vaishnavas. Okay, 2 points given. I gave donations here, there, 2 points given. I cared for my family. I was a good husband. I was a good wife. So 2 points, and it comes to around 20 points, and you need 100 points to get in. In spite of doing all that, you just get 20 points. And the story goes on to say that the entry happens only because of the grace of the Lord. No matter how hard you try, we do require the grace of the Lord and association of the devotee. So and this was a nice story. Maybe I didn't say it very well, but the way Subha Vilash Prabhuji says the story, he really acts out his story, and it's really enjoyable. But just to get everything in perspective, that we do and we do and we do and we endeavor and we go through all this. But the most important thing is a guru in our lineage, his association and the grace of the Lord. Even if you don't have those documents, even if you have done 1 round or 8 rounds, if you have the somebody like Vidura with you and Lord's grace, that would take you through. So that was one story that I remembered when we were talking about the grace of Vidura and the Lord. Any more additions? Anybody would like to say anything?
Hare Krishna, I'd like to add something.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Just to add on to what you are saying, the Lord is very merciful. He's given us a get out of jail card in this lifetime. And it's just very, very simple. He said in the Bhagavad Gita, if one unconditionally surrenders, so the words are unconditional and surrender. But after that, he's given us also simple tool. It's a one-word tool. And the tool is the name. All the power is in the name. He's not told us to go and do tapasya. He's not told us to do anything. He just says, remember me. And chant his name, his glories all the time. And all the time we should try and remember just to chant his name and to remember him. The name is very, 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 very important. There's no difference between him and the name. And when it comes to the name, every time our mind wanders, we should just think of one word name and go back into chanting his name and remembering him, surrendering everything we do in life to him as it's him doing it. Obviously, without his grace, nothing is, not even a blade of grass moves without his grace. So his grace is most important. And he's given us in this human life this free knowledge. And he just said the name. And most important word, everything should be unconditional and with love and devotion. He's made actually the path or that visa, which you say without all these points, very easy. He says, number one, the name. The next condition, next word is unconditional love and devotion. So we don't have to remember all these other issues. We need to remember these three keywords and the Maha Mantra, or even his name. Even if you don't chant Maha Mantra, you chant any of his names in whichever way or form, he's guaranteed us that he's going to look after us. Hare Krishna, thank you.
Thank you very much, Divesh Prabhuji. That was really a good addition. Anything anybody can think of?
I think that is a really wonderful way of controlling your thoughts and your senses, because when you're thinking of the Lord with whatever you're doing, sometimes you can't if you're doing some real analytical work and all that. You're so focused. But say, for example, in gardening, walking, even cleaning the house, whatever, remembering the name instead of the thoughts going into all sorts of negative and positive and all sorts of rubbish, it really is a lovely way of using the senses and focusing on God. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pramila Mataji. That reminds me of one story that Keshav Maharaj said in one of his lectures, that when a plane goes from, for example, from Nairobi to London, it has been given a chart, it has been given a plan, it has been given a route. But most of the time, only 30% of the time it stays on the route because of weather conditions. It could be raining, it's this, that, and the other. Sometimes you reach late, sometimes you reach early. But what the pilot does is always stays next to the path that it has been given. So our mind, when we chant, will wander here, there. But if we just remain focused on the path, just remain focused on the chanting of the name and bring your mind back to your chanting and trying to listen to it, you will stay focused. So I always remember this point because I think that is so appropriate and apt for when I chant, at least, that okay, I'm thinking of something else. Okay, now that means there is a storm somewhere. Just come back, come to the route that has been allocated to you. So thank you very much, Mataji and Divesh Prabhuji. That really reminded me of that. Yes, Anandavardhana Prabhu, kindly unmute and would like to hear from
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, sorry, I joined later on, but I've been listening just late, and I can see what the subject is. It's talking about the mercy and the names of the Lord. Just something. It was nice contribution from Divyesh Prabhu and Pramila Mataji. I heard a little bit from you as well, so it was all good. I just wanted to say something about Guru. Actually, you need the mercy of the Guru and the association of devotees. A reason I'm saying this is that where we need to think, where are we getting this literature from? Yeah, we're getting this literature from Ved-Vyas, actually. Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Ved-Vyas, and he's the original, he has written it. And we are getting that instruction. So he's the Guru. And then there is another transparent media through other Guru, through Parampara. We're getting that. So Guru is compared to sometimes when we have glasses, yeah, like I've got glasses, so I can't see that properly. Then a Guru is like a glasses, so we can see everything more clearly. So the association of sadhus and association of the Gurus and following the instructions of Guru is quite important in actually developing Krishna consciousness. So these are my thoughts on it, because we listen to Keshav Maharaj, we listen to, that's why we get enthusiastic about Krishna consciousness, when we really listen to the people, the elevated souls. So I just wanted to give my feedback on that one. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for that feedback. Yes, the Guru is very important for us. And in this case here in Dhritarashtra, it was Vidura Vidura's grace, who acted as a Guru, and of course the grace of the Lord. And that reminds me of that when you have a good Guru, or when you have a Guru, you should surrender. And then I was wondering what this surrender means, especially for a person like me who's always been independent. I do all my things myself, and I don't need a lot of people in my life. And so that is where I'm coming from. And now we've realized, at least I've realized now, that there are a lot of people in our lives whose debts we have to pay. We are dependent on a lot of people. For example, the Pitru Runa, the Rishi Runa, the Bhuta Runa, Deva Runa. There are lots of people. Because of them, you are what you are. So if you had a Guru who was weak, or if you had association of people that were weak, you would also become weak, and you would create bad habits, and you'll get the wrong mood, and obviously the wrong consciousness. And so it is very important to depend on somebody that is powerful, because that little bit rubs onto you, and you see them, and you get those habits, and you will get yourself elevated in Krishna consciousness. So it's a good idea to depend on the right people. And that there is a story of Hanumanji, and I mean, a lot of stories of Hanuman and Ram is coming up because we've just had Ram Navami. So that is really fresh in our minds. So Hanuman ji touched Lord Rama's both his feet with his hands, and Lord Rama tried to pick Hanumanji. So obviously Lord Rama put his hands on Hanuman's shoulder, And that's when Hanuman said, okay, this is freeze now. This is the position I want to be. I always want to serve, and I always want to stay at your lotus feet. And the reason is, when I'm at your lotus feet, you will always be touching my shoulder. And my shoulder is the place where we do all our work with our hands. So if you have your grace on my shoulders, I can do nothing wrong. So this was a very touching story of Hanuman and the Lord. And so if you want Lord's grace, you have to stay at his feet and then totally depend on him. I mean, this is what I've heard, and this is what I'm trying to implement. When I talk, it doesn't mean I'm doing it, because I'm still not there. I still feel there's a lot of ego and a lot of the mind still says that, no, you are independent, but I need to create this sense of dependence on the Lord. So thank you very much for that, Anandavardhana Prabhus. Any more addition? Okay, if there are no more addition, we can go to the next sentence. The Lord's mercy was bestowed upon him by his personal contact with Vidura, and when he was actually practicing the instructions of Vidura, the Lord helped him to attain the highest perfection stage. So all his life, Dhritarashtra stayed with Vidura and probably never heard what Vidura was saying. So, but now that he's listening to Vidura, even Lord is helping him. Any more additions to this sentence? I think we've been discussing over this. Okay, if there are no more additions, we can continue with the next sentence. A pure devotee of the Lord does not live on any planet of the material sky, nor does he feel any contact with the material elements. His so-called material body does not exist, being surcharged with the spiritual current of the Lord's identical interest, and thus he is permanently freed from all contaminations of sum total of the Mahatattva. Okay, we've come back to Mahatattva and the qualities of a pure devotee. So a pure devotee, like Vidura, is not touched. He lives in this body, which is made out of the 5 gross elements that we discussed earlier. But he doesn't get contaminated. Any more thoughts on that?
Basically, Prabhupada is referring to Nitya Siddhas and Nitya Baddhas. So the eternally liberated, and so-called material body does not exist. He being surcharged with spiritual current of the Lord's identical interest. So basically, he's talking about the Nitya Siddhas, who are eternally liberated, and then they come only for the purpose of executing the Lord's interest.
That's correct. Thank you very much for that addition. Any more additions?
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you so much, Matajis and Prabhujis. Really loving all the content, all that you've been teaching. So I just wanted to just add one word to what Arya Govinda Prabhuji just said. That apart from being Nitya Siddhas, there are probably also Atmaramas, satisfied and happy in themselves, so they do not need the material surroundings or anything material to be able to feel happy. They are happy in themselves, and that is the reason they are connected to the Lord at all times.
Thank you very much for that addition. Any more contribution? Okay, let's carry on. He is always in the spiritual sky. So these Siddhas that we were speaking of and Atmarams that we were speaking of, or here Vidura, he's always in the spiritual sky, which he attains by being transcendental to the sevenfold material covering by the effect of the devotional service. The conditioned souls are within the covering, whereas the liberated soul is far beyond the covering, beyond the cover. So here they are describing the sevenfold material covering. So maybe somebody can throw some more light on this sevenfold material coverings. Are you
I
going?
think that's the air, water, fire, ether, false ego, and Mahatattva. Because to return back to the spiritual world, one has to actually pass through these seven coverings of the universe. And he travels through each layer, and actually he assumes a body made of the element he's passing through so that he can experience the sense objects associated with it. This was in one of Srila Prabhupada's purport on creation, describing how the seven coverings and so.
Thank you very much, Mataji. Any more additions?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
I probably just thought that was probably a nice thing by Pramila Mataji. I thought, yeah, that was water, fire, air, sky or ether, and so on. But then you have got this false ego, the subtle body and the material body. So that makes up seven.
Okay.
That's what I thought would that mean.
This was in one of the purports of Srila Prabhupada Prabhuji, and
Okay.
yeah, so this was some notes I had made when I was reading that purport at the time, because I couldn't understand it from A to B, and so I thought I better write this down and try and understand it. So he did mention false ego and the Mahatattva, because when the soul goes back to the Mahatattva, then it goes back into Pradhan, and that's when it goes through these seven layers before it reaches one of the Vaikuntha planets. I hope I'm right. I think that's what I remember.
No, I think that's right. That's quite right. Mahatattva, yeah, including false ego. So false ego is a subtle part of the thing. So sevenfold material thing, when the universes are covered with sevenfold material covering, which is water, fire, air, sky, ego, non-manon and material nature, just like a huge football. That's what when I was reading somewhere on there. Yeah, so it's probably along the right lines.
Hare Krishna, I'd just like to add something to
Yes.
this. For me, the most important word in this sentence is devotional service. The only way to attend or to go back to the spiritual sky is just through devotional service. Whether seven coverings or however many they are, the only exit plan is devotional service. So the Lord is clearly telling us that, look, the secret again is devotional service. And He's made it very, very simple. We don't need to complicate anything. Devotional service goes back again to the same principles, the name. Love and devotion, unconditional love and devotion, and unconditional surrender. So He's made Krishna conscious very, very easy for us in Kali Yuga. We don't have to do tapasyas. We don't have to do these things. He even says you don't even need to know the scriptures. You don't even need to know the meanings of everything. As long as you chant my name with love and devotional, unconditional surrender, this plan, reach me and merge with me, is guaranteed. He himself has promises in the Bhagavad Gita. And since he is the absolute truth, we should just focus on that. Devotional service, devotional service, devotional service. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Divesh Prabhu, we hear you. We will not be like Dhritarashtra. So we will hear you. We do hear you. Yes, Arya Govind Prabhu.
Actually, regarding this thing what we're discussing, there's a pastime of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he goes to South India. He meets a Brahmana, and then he would be sitting and crying and holding the Bhagavad Gita in his hand. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asks the Brahmana why he was crying. Then he tells Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that his guru has given him to read the Bhagavad Gita, but he doesn't know how to read. He's not educated. He starts. Then he asks why that you're crying. He says that I know that Krishna is the Lord, and then Arjuna is his devotee, but still he's so merciful that he's taken up the work of being a charioteer, driver to his own devotee. So I'm thinking about that mercy, and then I'm just getting over mercy of the Lord, and then crying. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that you have understood the gist of the Bhagavad Gita. You don't need to read the Bhagavad Gita. So as Divesh Prabhu was saying, yes, all these books, spiritual books, knowledge, and Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita is there, but ultimate is devotional service to the Lord. If that is attained and that is somehow achieved, or to the highest perfectional stage, so all these literatures will become automatically revealed to the person who is devoted. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so much for reminding us about that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's encounter with the Brahmin. Yes, Anandavardhana Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Yeah, very good point, actually. Devotional service is the key. And we know from devotional service, we know the pastimes of Shabad. That devotion was there, even though she was having the boar which were tasted by her, and Ram was still having it because they were given by, with all love by Shabari. Similarly, gopis, gopis of Vrindavan, they didn't have that knowledge, but all they wanted is the love of Krishna, that pure love of Krishna. But having said that, to find the pure love of Krishna nowadays for us, we need to practice. We need to practice devotional service. That's why we do the sadhana every day, every single day. And one of the verse on Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 19:170, he says, Sarvopadi vinirmuktam tatparatvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhakti uchyate. And he says bhakti or devotional service means engaging all our senses in the service of the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the master of side effects. One is freed from all material designation and purified simply by being employed in the service of the Lord. So this is how important the chanting comes. Because when the chanting comes, like we said yesterday, Cheto Darapana Marjanam, all the thing which, the dust which has accumulated, our karma of the past lives which has accumulated for years and years and years, on how many lives it has accumulated, they are being cleansed. We don't know. Some people could be purified, already purified. But I just talking from my point of view, there are lots and lots of past karmas which I may have accumulated. And by chanting the Lord's name, Hari's name, regularly, every morning, it helps. It very much helps, and it gives us quite a lot of confidence as well. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for emphasizing sadhana. And sadhana reminds me of this body that we have is referred to as sadhana bhavan in our shastras. And when I looked into it a little more, it says that a house, when you build a house from scratch, you always build it in such a way that, okay, the door will be here, and according to the Vastu, we'll have the windows here, and we should have the bedroom in this direction and things like that. I mean, even a house, even the temple, that the deity kitchen should be placed in here and there. So this body is made for sadhana. For example, if your door is closed from outside, then you will be in a prison. I mean, in a prison, there is never a lock inside. It's always outside. But here we have this body, which is referred to as a sadhana bhavan, where the lock is inside. You just have to open the lock. You have to do your sadhana and then walk out. So we never call this body a prison. We always call it a house. And a house will have 4 walls. So similarly, the 4 walls are kala, where we don't have control over the time. Karma, I mean, I've done so many karmas in the past, which I don't have control over. But there are 2 other walls. One is swabhav, which is my personal nature, and the guna, which is the qualities. So my personal nature is to, I mean, I'm a lecturer, as you all know, and I love to teach. So I'm engaging that passion of mine into Krishna consciousness. And similarly, we have fantastic cooks on this call. We have people who really engage in service. I know Divesh Prabhuji does a lot of service. And wherever their swabhav is, they are taking it into Krishna consciousness. And these, if we just do our sadhana perfectly, as what Arya Govind Prabhu, as what Anandavardha Prabhu, as what Divesh Prabhu ji has said, chant and do your service very well, you will be able to open the door of your house and be freed. So thank you for emphasizing sadhana. This is a sadhana bhavan. We have been given this body which is perfect for sadhana. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, I'd just like to add something as well.
Continue, Prabhu.
You know, everything we but everything, including this body, is prasad. God has given us this gift. It's everything is given us is actually prasad on this planet. From the air we breathe, from the body we have, it's all His grace. It's actually prasad. So we should not abuse it. In the same way, same way we go to the temple, we don't waste food. We come home, we go somewhere else, people leave things on their plate. But every second, everything the Lord has given us is actually prasad. And we should use it in His service only. And all glory should just be to Him. We can't take any, what is called, any merits because of anything that we do. We should always remember it's all Him, it's His mercy. Even to get this body, it's a mercy. It's prasad. So we need to have a paradigm shift in the way we think. Everything in this world is prasad. Shouldn't cut a tree, that's the air we breathe, it gives us, it's prasad. Everything that He has given us in this life is prasad. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Excellent point, Divesh Prabhu.
Such a lovely point, Prabhuji.
Okay, we finished the purport and we still have time, and I was requesting Panchali Mataji, because there was a homework for her to do. Mataji, are you able to give us the
You
thread?
put me to shame. You put me to shame, Mataji. I wasn't able to do the homework, but I'll give you what I know a tiny bit. But I wasn't able to do the proper homework. Apologies for that.
That's okay.
So there are, from what I know, there are 3 types of flutes played by Krishna in Vrindavan, in Mathura Vrindavan. And Prabhujis and Matajis, if you know as well, or if I'm going wrong anywhere, please do correct me. And then it was said that the guru of the heavenly beings, Brihaspati, once did a yagna, and a bamboo stick came out of that yagna fire. And the bamboo stick had 25 divisions. You know, the bamboo sticks are really long, and that had 25 divisions in that. So the gods were really wondering what to do, because all yagnas are, for prayers to Lord Vishnu. So when that bamboo stick came out of the yagna, they knew it was a prasad. Again, going back to prasad, it was something from Vishnu, and they were wondering what to do with that. And then they decided that they needed to do something with that bamboo stick, that would do good for the universe. And so they decided that they will make a bow that will protect the gods and destroy the demons from that bamboo stick. And so from that bamboo stick, so they made a bow, which first one I think was called a Sharan Dhanuk, which took up 9 divisions of that bamboo stick, and that was for Vishnu, Lord Vishnu. The next 7 divisions of the bamboo stick, they did a bow for Lord Shiva, which was called the I think it was called the Kamuk or Kamuk Dhanuk. And this was the same bow that was dropped near Janak Maharaj's kingdom, Maithili, and it was so very heavy. It was extremely heavy, and it was left there, and it was Lord Shiva's, and it was dropped there. And there's another pastime around that, not going into that. And none of the soldiers, it took about 300-400 soldiers to actually pick up that Dhanuk and bring it to the king's near the king's palace. And then once Mother Sita, she was playing outside, and she was playing with a ball-like thing, which got stuck on a treetop, and she just wanted to get a stick to get that thing out of the tree, and she couldn't find anything, and she saw that Dhanuk over there. So she walks to that Dhanuk, lifts it up very easily with her left hand, uses it as a stick, and gets the thing that was stuck, her play thing that was stuck on the tree. She gets that from there, using that Dhanuk. And the king's soldiers and the king's men, they were all like, they were looking at it. They were all, they couldn't believe what they were seeing. They went to Janak Maharaj and they said, I saw your daughter, your 5-year-old daughter, pick up that Dhanuk, that bow. And Janak Maharaj said, you guys have gone crazy. Don't say all these things to me now. I think you're overworked. So go and take some rest. I mean, you're telling wrong things to me. But then he actually saw, and then he saw Sita Devi use it. And then the story goes about how he thought that, he needed to find a proper husband for her who could use or lift the Dhanuk. But that's the bow. So that took up. So the first 9 divisions of that bamboo was for a bow for Vishnu. The second 7 for Lord Shiva. And then there was a 5 division which was made into another bow that was for Ram. Lord Ram, Kodanta Danuk, and then there was three divisions used of that bamboo stick to make the Gandiv Danuk for Arjun. So in this way, so you've got 9, 7, 5 divisions for Lord Ram, and then 3 divisions of another Danuk for Arjun. So 9, 7, 5, and 3. So you have 24 divisions of that bamboo used by the gods to make bows for the various gods of good, elevated personalities. Now, what remained was the absolute top division, because the whole bamboo stick had 25 divisions. So the top division was left. And with that top division, they made 3 flutes for Krishna in Vrindavan. And so the first one was called Venu, which had 6 holes in it. And this was played to call the cows when the cows were gazing. So that was the Venu. Then the second second type of flute was called Vamshi, which had 8 holes in it. And this was played for the Vrajavasis, the Gopakumaras, and the Gopis as well at times, but mainly the Vrajavasis in general. And the third type of flute was called Murali, and this was the topmost flute. It had 4 holes in it, and this was played during the Rasalila, or when Krishna was engaging, in his pastimes specifically with the gopis. Now, my homework was to find out a bit more about these 3 venues, because there are some differences in the way the venues are described. In some places, they describe the Venu being used for the Gopas, and the Vamshi being used for something else, and the Murali being used for the Gopas in general. But so there are tiny bit of divergence or differences in stories as to how these 3 types of flutes were used by Krishna. What I have so far is, the Venu for the cows, the Vamshi for the Vrajavasis in general, and the Murali was the topmost flute and very dear to Krishna, and that was used specifically for the gopis, and especially during the Rasalilas. So there you go, Mataji. That's the whole story of the bamboo, the arrows, and the flutes.
Oh,
apologies if I've gone wrong anywhere.
Thank you very much. I don't know about the other devotees if they knew this, but I didn't know this. So thank you for enlightening us. Any other contribution or comments on the story of the flute?
I'd just like to say thank you very much for this very interesting story. Thank you.
Okay, so on that note, I think we've exhausted our time, and we had a brilliant session today when everybody contributed, and thank you so much for joining in, and we can end this session. Arya Govind Prabhu, are you able to end the session? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. I sincerely thank all the devotees for this wonderful interactive session, where most all of us contributed to our different aspects of what we all have learned so far in every one of us.
Hare
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Krishna. Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Jeez, thank you.
Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Krishna. Thank you very much.